whatever.
Well, make sure you get a copy of it.
Well,
So what, we're gonna publish
my
on
name
the
is,
page.
Bill Lang, I'm from
They have
water2gas.com.
it on our site.
He's got his own page on
I'm
it.
also a friend of Ozzy Freedom, and he has a company called water4gas.com. And he popularized this technology with books on the internet. In fact, he had the largest book sales, electronic book sales of anyone in internet history. And so the reason you're here is probably because of the books that Ozzy put on the internet, and I had some input into those books. I began, first of all, how about if we have a hand for Dan Shea, because
I'm Joe.
Joe Shea.
You too. I've got two already. Thank you very much.
Or Joe Shea for getting us
Thank you, Joe, very much.
all. So I began working with these systems in the early 1980s after the first energy crisis. In the early 70s, I was working on project management on a wastewater treatment plant, and a junior engineer brought in a little system that was similar to this. It was a vacuum operated system that just bubbled water in a jar. And I looked at it and I said, well, I mean, anything that simple, maybe it works. So I made some, and I put them on my vehicles at the time, and I'll be darned if they didn't work, and they worked really well, and they were very, very simple. And that's where the use of the ball canning jar came from. That was from the 80s. And early on, you know, when you're designing a system, you're going to have to make some important decisions, and those decisions that you make are going to largely determine the kind of outcome that you get, right? And so our first decision in system design was to use parts that were readily available and could be acquired over the counter, because we realized that this technology would never really ever go anywhere unless people could readily build them from parts that they could easily get. So every decision we made as to the construction process that would be involved was based on, you know, where are we going to get this? You know, if it's possible to get it from Home Depot or Lowe's, this is going to be better than if you have to go to Fastenal, for example. But anyway, we wound up with parts that you could get from everywhere. So this first system was from World War II in around 1942, 43, 44. It was used on Pratt & Whitney engines, and there was a guy, I believe his name is Frank Walker. There's a PDF on the internet about his research and the use of injecting water vapor into engines. It's one of the great contributions, maybe it turns out in world history, but he was a Florida man. So we started with this very, very simple system. I want to make it clear from the start that you're welcome to interrupt at any time. If you have any questions that you'd like further detail on, please raise your hand, and we'll answer any questions as they come up. Could I just pass these to you, and you can pass them around, and then no, just so this is almost, it's becoming almost like the study of the chip sequence that evolved into modern day laptops, you know. What you're looking at is a Z80 there, you know. And by now the evolution is beginning to be somewhat complete, but far more advanced. So the first system that we came up with for HHO was this system. And these are stainless steel washers on stainless steel bolts. This turned out to be a really good system and pretty hard to beat. One of the key elements that is driving this research is elegance and simplicity. You know, Buckminster Fuller, a friend of Buckminster Fuller told a story. He was asking about the direction of his research. He was asking Bucky Fuller about it, and Fuller tells him, well, if it's simple and it's elegant or beautiful, you're probably on the right path. You know, you could be absolutely certain of that. Just look at the history of science, you know. I mean, everything that works evolves into first something that is elegant and then something that is very simple. So that's where that goes. See, so we also made a decision that we were going to stick with simple things. This is what it evolved to, all these fittings and everything. Now, the next decision you're going to have to make is whether you're going to spend your life going after patents and hiding everything from the public, or whether you're going to make everything that you do public knowledge, right? Now, in the early days of water gas research, it was all your life was worth to do anything at all with it, you know, because they'd come after you, and you know, likely as not, they'd either kill you or buy you off. That's the way that went. But then an alternative approach evolved, which was just to publish everything on the internet, which automatically transferred it to public domain and made it common knowledge. You know, thousands of people around the world now understood that there was this simple technology, and so now there's nobody to come after it. And so that's been working really well. But when you make a decision on whether or not to patent the technology, you should take in mind that there's probably 600 or 700 million cars, and that if you had 1/10 of 1% of the market, you would not have to worry for the rest of your life. So it may not be worth your time to go after a patent, and there's like probably 750,000 patents. They're behind, and it's taken 4 years, probably at the most, unless you have some way to fast track it. So if you're going to go the public domain, public information route, you're going to have a lot of advantages from the start, because you're not being secretive and you're not hiding anything. And so you can go to your friends and you can say, hey, look, it went this far, what do I do next, you know? And one of your friends is an electronic engineer, another guy is in hydraulics, somebody else is in system supply, and you get answers. They take one look at it and say, oh, well, obviously you need a passivated washer here with a rubber gasket affixed, and you can get rid of the glue. And so all these steps emerge, and it's simply because you're being open and honest about what you're trying to do.